So I'm just making this video because I get contacted by loads of women about hijab. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Alia. I am an ex-Muslim atheist, and I wore the hijab from the age of 11 to 19, 20, where I finally removed it. Went through lots of different phases. I even wore the niqab, which is a face veil, and black gloves, the whole thing. Well, I get contacted by all these women, different ages from around the world about, why I removed my hijab and the process that I went through. And so, I became really interested in this, this shared experience of wearing hijab. And I went on YouTube and I found that most videos about hijab are either tutorials about how to wear it, how to look nice in it, which is really great, really interesting. It's nice to see that women are taking ownership and doing it in their own way. Also, there's an uncomfortable side of YouTube when it comes to the hijab, where women speak about, usually it's titled, "I'm taking my hijab off," but they're not actually taking their hijab off. They're essentially giving reasons, they call them excuses, as to why women take their hijab off. So I thought, well, realistically, we know that there are so many women around the world that are struggling with the pressure of hijab, whether it's, the thing about hijab is it's not just a headscarf. There's so many different forms that it takes. It can be a chador, it can be a jilbab, it can be a niqab, So, we have to look at the fact that there are different cultures in the way that hijab manifests. This video is not really intended to tell Muslim women how to dress. Essentially, I know that there are many Muslim women around the world who like to wear hijab. They feel that it brings them closer to God as part of their religion. And as somebody who grew up around a lot of different types of Muslim women, I know that to be true. Some people will say, oh, all Muslim women are pressurized, they're all forced, or even the ones who want to wear it are indoctrinated. And essentially, I don't believe that. To say that is to take agency away from Muslim women and say that they're stupid children, which they're not. But this is much more about the other women, the ones who never really get spoken about, the ones who get spoken about in passing. And these are the women who are pressurized into wearing hijab, whether that's by their families, their husbands, their communities, by their states. Governments. We know that all women in Saudi Arabia, all of them, do not have a choice about hijab. Whether some of them want to wear it or not is a different question. It's a different thing. But we know that none of them have the choice because the state enforces it. It's the same thing in Iran. So we know that those two countries, at least, there are a lot of women who are being forced into it there. On top of that, there are a lot of different, anecdotal stories about women who have felt pressurized into wearing hijab by their families. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of research that's done about women who want to remove their hijab because they're pressurized into it. Partly because there's such a taboo around talking about hijab. And it comes from a few different places. The first place where it comes from is the fact that, Muslim communities want to protect purity culture. A lot of the times, the reason why women are expected to wear hijab is because what they're essentially saying, what the message that needs to be coming across, is that they're saying that they're not sexually transgressive. That is what it means to actually maintain a purity culture. So, for instance, when I removed my hijab, one of the first accusations that I got was that I was doing it because I wanted to have relationships or sleep around or have boyfriends, which I found to be insulting because that was not the reason why I took it off in the first place. A lot of women start wearing hijab at a very young age. So, for instance, I spoke to a woman the other day who said, I don't really remember when I started to wear it. I must have been 7 or 8, and I've got to an age now where I'm, in my 20s, and the reality of not being able to wear it, or the choice of not being able to have a choice, has always been there for me. And now I'm at this stage, I don't know how to ever take it off. And even if I watch other YouTube videos of women talking about hijab, one of the things that is obvious across all of those videos, and I've seen it discussed a lot amongst Muslim women because I've grown up in those societies, is what other people will think. A lot of the time it's got nothing to do with God. And what I mean by that is, yes, religion is very central to the hijab, but at the same time it's much more about the way that cultures and societies want women to behave. So many times the reason why women don't take hijab off is because they're concerned about how others in their community are going to see them and how they're going to judge them, and even more than that, how they're going to actually treat their parents. Another way that it happens is marriages. So if a woman doesn't wear hijab, or if she's got married into a certain family and she's wearing, some form of veil, for her to remove it, she can have problems with her in-laws, with the way that her husband sees her. Maybe he doesn't want her to ever remove it. Now, sometimes I get asked by women, why did I take mine off? And, do I regret that decision? And for me, I don't regret the decision at all. Where we need to get to is where we have an honest and open conversation about this, because I find that, especially in Britain, because the hijab is a very politicized thing, unfortunately, because of the fact that there's a rise of anti-Muslim bigotry. I've seen it myself. We know that it happens in this country. People want to speak about hijab in such a way that they often speak about how women who wear it do have a choice. But then what that does is it drowns out the voices of women who want to talk about the other side of it, but what it feels like to be pressurized by their families or their cultures and their communities. I mean, my background is I went to an Islamic school, and one of the first ways that I was ever pressurized into wearing hijab was institutionally, because I went to an Islamic boarding school. It was part of my school uniform. I'll give you a quick story. I was in the playground and my teacher saw me from the distance, and I wasn't wearing my hijab properly at all. It was literally around my neck, and she came running and she just started screaming at me, "Don't you know that the CCTV camera is there? Don't you know that men could see you?" So from a very young age, I've had this shame from and a lot of the times it's not men who say it to you. There is this internal woman on woman enforcement of patriarchal values, where women are taking choice away from each other because we're also concerned about maintaining a certain culture, a certain purity ideal. Now, when I went to, I went through my life wearing the hijab and struggling with it because I never really wanted to wear it in the first place. What I did find was that there were certain things that were expected of me because I was a hijabi. So one of the things that I find is that women who wear hijab are expected to behave in a certain way. They are expected to be more religious than their counterparts, more religious than women who don't wear it. So it comes with connotations, ideas, behavioral codes that you're expected to follow. That's one of the reasons why women remove their hijab completely, is because they don't actually want to be limited by those ideas. They don't want to be told how to behave, or that they can't go to a certain area because they're wearing it. Not because wider society doesn't want them there because they're wearing it. That's an element too. But because if they are caught wearing the hijab and going to certain areas or doing certain things, I'll give you a really obvious example. Now, I know smoking is bad for you, but if you wear a hijab and you're caught smoking a cigarette, you are much more likely to be judged for it. And that's a very small example of the way that women who wear hijab are expected to behave, to be of a certain standard. They're put on a pedestal. Women ask me, what can I do? How can I remove it? And I remember before I made this video, somebody said to me, well, are you essentially going to facilitate and help other women to remove hijab? My answer to that is yes, of course. Because I've worn it, I found it really difficult to remove, and I went through so many years of not knowing why I was wearing it, not wanting to wear it, and I almost felt like I needed somebody to just tell me that I wasn't alone. And one of the things that women who wear hijab and want to remove it, remember, I'm not telling Muslim women that they have to remove it. I'm speaking to a very specific group of women, the ones who don't remember why they put it on, the ones who don't feel attractive, the ones who look in the mirror and they don't know who they are, the ones who feel suffocated. I'm talking to those women. And one of the things that I would say is the process of taking it off depends on your family, your culture, your community, and where you live. Unfortunately, I can't always do everything for women. I can't go and and help them, because they live in communities that are very strict and isolated. But one of the most important things that you can do is to start to change the way that you think about your hijab, and to start to change the way that you think about yourself. So don't feel guilty for wanting to take it off. Don't feel that you are in some way, you know, you are this horrible person who, you know, you want everyone to look at you. Because often what happens with women who wear hijab is that they grow up around these ideas of what it means to be a woman, and they find it very difficult to remove hijab because they're so concerned about how others are going to view them, and if they're going to think that they are somehow sexually, I mean, I'll say sexually transgressive again. So, you know, they might be worried that people will look at them and think that they're slutty, or, you know, that reminds me that there's a word that's used often by Muslim men, which I really don't like. It's called hijabi. And essentially it refers to Muslim women who wear hijab in a way that's not considered to be orthodox. It's women who might wear slightly tighter clothes than, you know, other women. They might wear makeup, or they may do things that they're not supposed to do. They may go out, they may have a boyfriend, but they wear the hijab. I've heard lots of different arguments about the hijab, but the central thing about it, and it's across the board in all the different communities where hijab manifests, is that it does come down to a relationship between men and women, and it is about sex. So when a woman decides to remove it, one of the accusations that are thrown at her is that she's doing it in order to be sexually attractive to men. And this is where I think a lot of the fear and the anxiety about taking it off comes from. This fear that people are going to look at you and think that you are going out of your way to attract men. So it's really important to change the way that you think about yourself. I know it's difficult. I know that you might be feeling bad about it, and you might be worried about how your family are going to feel. But at the same time, you know, you need to stop being so hard on yourself, because this is your body. You have the right to dress however you want to dress. I know it doesn't always feel like that, especially when you've been wearing it from such a young age. But you just change the way that you see yourself, and start that process. Start reading about, you know, different women's journey of taking their hijab off, because there are a lot of blogs online, even if there's not that many, you know, videos. Even if you're really concerned about how your family might react, realistically you may be able to tell them and to remove it if you live in a country or in a context where you can do that. If of course you live in a country where you can't remove hijab, like Saudi or Iran, then if you do remove it, then it's much more about a political statement. So we know, for instance, there was recently No Hijab Day, something that I followed and I did support. And what's really interesting about No Hijab Day is that a lot of people blamed white women, white feminists, but realistically it had nothing to do with them. It was much more about Iran, because it was started by an Iranian feminist who has a Facebook page called My Stealthy Freedom, where Iranian women take pictures of themselves without hijab, and that's part of a political revolution. So if you are in a country where it is against the law, of course be careful and find yourself a support network, find yourself other people online. And I guess that's my final message to anybody, whether you live in Britain or America. If you feel pressurized into hijab, you don't have to feel like you're alone. There are other people online. If you don't know who to contact, you can contact me. My Twitter handle's in the bio of this video, and you can drop me an email as well. And if I know anybody in the area or in the country, I'll try and get them in contact with you. But this was just a way for me to try to open up a conversation and for us to be honest about what's going on in the community. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and comment below and let me know what you think.